This is pretty crazy, but let me in on a real big secret. Majority of the Shopify stores and e-commerce brands out there bleed a lot of money and lose a lot of money and profits during Q2. And in this video, I'm going to show you exactly if your e-commerce brand right now is losing some money or it's not even profitable at all, or you're just not where you want it to be, how you can turn that around and how you can actually go back to the levels you were before and possibly even expand upon them during this period. Because right now when I'm recording this video, it is Q2 and this video applies for majority of Q2 and a little bit of Q3 as well. Late in Q3 is when things start to take off. But before we actually start talking about exactly how to kind of battle this issue, it's important to understand why it even happens in the first place. So in order for us to understand this, let's rewind back a little bit to Q4 of the previous year. In the previous year of Q4, and basically every Q4 for that matter, what happens? A lot of people go absolutely crazy, just going on a buying spree, buying for their parents, for their family members, for their friends, girlfriends, wives, etc., etc. And what happens is whatever budget they have been saving up throughout the entire year, they splurge about 50 to 80% of it during this Q4 time period. That's why so many big e-commerce stores make so much money, and even beginners who just start dropshipping or just start a Shopify store during this time period make so much money. It's just because it's easy to make money in Q4. And as you kind of progress through Q4, you get more towards the end of Q4, things start taking a bit of a turn. As Christmas comes by, New Year's comes by, the budgets, the ad spend, the overall sales does start to kind of diminish, because now people are getting a sense of their self. They're starting to understand that their behavior may not be the best behavior, or just because sales are kind of ending out now and it's going to be too late for anything to come before Christmas. So December 31st or December 30th even for that matter kind of marks the end of this big buying season, and it begins the new year and a new quarter, which is Q1. What happens during Q1? Now you might be thinking that Q1 usually is the worst time of the year because literally everybody just spend their budget during Q4. But the answer to that question is it's not really the lowest time period, and here's exactly why. During Q1, a brand new year has started, and with a brand new year comes a lot of new opportunities, comes a lot of new hopes, desires, etc. A lot of goals. People want to do this, people want to achieve that, they want to slim down, they want to lose fat, etc., etc. And what happens is because of these new goals, motivations, etc., they actually take just a little bit of the budget that's remaining from Q4 to then come and just waste it on Q1. So during this time, you'll see a lot of gym memberships start to sell more, a lot of fitness products, a lot of outdoor stuffs even, because people are trying to buy those outdoorsy bikes that they can use within their homes, and just all sorts of these other things which can apply to the new year and start it off on the right path. And again, this is going to entirely depend on what niche you are in will drop, but most of the time it will be of a little bit of a drop, but the sales will still be there. But here's exactly what happens after Q1, and I'm going to show you some examples right here on my screen so you get a good idea. So this Shopify store is actually a client Shopify store under my agency Euro Marketing, which if you're doing $30,000 or more in sales and you want to take your store to the next level with Google Ads, go on our website at euromarketing.com and book a free call with me to see how I can help you scale your brand to the next level. But this Shopify store was mostly running only TikTok ads. As you can see, they did well over $500,000 just from TikTok. They came to us late April, early May because their sales were starting to drop. And as you can see, this is actually a completely brand new business that was just started this year. If we go back to November 2021 and just go all the way down to today when I'm recording this video, which is the 27th, you can see that previous periods there were a bit of sales, but nothing too crazy. And in this time period when we came on, which is end of April, early May, is when things were starting to kind of just drop from this big scaling phase. So they scaled from the beginning of Q1 all the way to the end of Q1. So January, February, March they did $362,000. Absolutely insane. But in April, when things started to drop, Q2 had just started. And this is not the only example store I have for you guys. I have this e-commerce brand, which is actually my own e-commerce brand. And before you say it might just be seasonal or niche based, this is a general store right here. So I have products from all different niches, all different collections, seasonal, not seasonal, everything you can think I have within this e-commerce brand. But as you can see, starting from 2020, March 2020, I did $172,000 in this store, 99.9% Google Ads. But April, even then, in Q2, it started to drop a bit, and July was the worst month, and then it did start to pick up later in Q3, early Q4. Same thing in 2021. As you can see, May was an okay month for me, but again, this is because I applied during this time period of what I'm about to tell you in this video. But even then, June, July, August, Q3 really, and then Q4, this for this store, because I didn't really pay too much attention, it didn't do as well. But regardless, with these two stores alone, over about $3 million worth of data alone just from these two stores, I have seen that Q2, Q3 are often the slowest times of the year time and time again. So that is essentially what I see when it comes to e-commerce. And again, as I said, you are going to see a majority of Q2 be like this, and majority of Q3 even for that matter kind of play out this way. And there is nothing really crazy about this. Of course, there are certain brands which are gonna crush it during Q2 and Q3. Don't get me wrong. Don't think that just because Q2 and Q3 is bad for a lot of the stores, that is bad for everybody else. That's not the case. If you, for example, sell heaters during Q2 and Q3, it definitely might be a bad season for you, because again, it's summertime in the US and you can't really sell heaters during the summertime. Same thing for Q4. If you sell heaters during Q4, it's gonna sell really, really well. But if you sell air conditioners during Q4, early Q1, it's gonna be an absolute disaster. So all of these things kind of play out based on the kind of store you are running, what products you have, etc. Season does, of course, play a very big role. But in general, I'm talking about 90% of the Shopify stores out there do face this issue. Now, let's move on to talk about exactly how to battle this issue. Before we get into the exact strategies, you need to keep one thing in mind, and that is you cannot 100% get rid of inconsistencies. It doesn't matter what business you run, whether you're doing e-commerce, whether you're selling software, or whatever the case may be, you are gonna face inconsistencies. Even with those evergreen so-called products out there, or evergreen niches, there are certain time periods and certain occasions going on where there will be ups and downs. But this does not mean that you cannot achieve a little bit more consistency with your e-commerce brand and with the overall sales that you're getting. Because let's be honest, our main goal is to be consistent with our brand, is to get consistent sales. So we're not chasing product after product. We're not trying to find winner after winner, and we're not really just jumping around from one ad platform to the next. So exactly how do you go about doing this? And now I'm going to be showing you various different strategies. But let's start off with strategy number one, and that strategy is to rely more on Google's algorithm itself. Now, what do I mean by this exactly? When I say rely more on Google's algorithm, what I'm essentially saying is you want to focus more on using smart-based shopping campaigns, smart-based search campaigns even for that matter, and if you still want to stick to standard shopping, utilizing more of the smart bidding, so it's target ROAS, target CPA, etc. And what this is going to do is it's going to let you depend on Google's algorithm more, in the way that now Google gets to decide what the right bid is for your products. Now Google gets to decide what the right keywords are and whether you should even be ranking for them or not, especially if you use smart shopping campaigns. So the reason why I'm doing this is because of the following account right here, and there's a lot of other accounts where I've had the same kinds of results with, but let's look at this specific account right here. And what I want to do is I want to go all the way back to January and look at it until now, which is May 2022. So as you can see, during January, of course, the conversion value over cost was looking good, but over time it did sort of start to drop a bit. That's just the nature of this e-commerce brand and just the products that this brand sells. But overall, from the weekly time period, we can see that January was a very good time period. Then we move on to February, still very good, and then March is kind of when things start to take off for the downturn. But here's the interesting thing. Now, it did take off on the downturn, but early May is when things are starting to pick back up, and even the downturn, it did not go too deep into a loss. And that's simply because we started using more smart shopping campaigns with this account. In total, there's about 11 different campaigns running, and about 95% of these are shopping campaigns, but all of them are basically smart shopping campaigns. There's one or two that's just standard shopping, which we were running originally, which we just didn't want to shut off, and the rest are search campaigns. But what these smart shopping campaigns are doing is they're adjusting the bids based on this trend. So I don't have to go in and determine what to bid during the low months of April and May and what to bid during the high months of January and February, simply because now Google is taking care of it. And I want to show you exactly how this works in action. So what we're going to do is we're going to look at average CPCs and how they work. So during this time period, the average CPC was around 62 euros. And during this time period, it actually increased to 0.80 euros. And of course, this change is not something I personally went in and did. I did not go in and change the bidding for standard shopping campaigns because again, a lot of this is smart shopping. Google decides. But what Google decided was that during this time period when things were taking a downturn, it could be either because of more competitors entering the market or because of a kind of a change in the market where now there's more competition in general using the auctions. So now I have to bid more to kind of secure that auction space, or just because my quality score dropped for whatever reason and now I have to bid more to get those same amount of people onto my website. That is exactly what Google decided during this time period, and that's what basically started to happen. As you can see, as the bid started to go up and up, the overall ROAS also did start to drop. So this is where we came in and we kind of implemented those basic smart shopping campaigns. They were already implemented by this time, but we took some extra measures like adding some kind of target ROAS percentage to it, etc., which kind of stopped it in its tracks. And as you can see, average CPC did start to drop during this time period, but overall more implementation of smart shopping. Now this could also mean for you more performance max campaigns, because that is basically what you will only be able to do very shortly. But you don't want to just stop with launching a bunch of smart shopping campaigns, because the next step is to actually kind of spread out your net and make it wider. Now, what do I mean by this exactly? When I say spread out your net, what I'm saying is instead of just having one or two smart shopping campaigns, you want to have multiple different smart shopping campaigns, of course, targeting multiple different collections, multiple different strategies in general. This means, number one, you could have multiple collection-based campaigns, you could have winners versus losers, or you could have something else like profit margins, pricing-based, etc. And I recommend you try out all of these, because during these bad months, you want to spread out your net as high as possible, because if we look at the overall ROAS for these smart shopping campaigns right over here, we can see that some are doing very well. So for example, this one right here has a 4.6 for ROAS, and this is targeting a completely different country. So you can spread out your net by targeting different countries. But also these ones right here, this one right here is for Canada, this one is for Australia, all both above the break-even ROAS, which is around a 1.75 for this brand. But this would not have been possible if I had not spread it out based on the countries, based on certain criteria. For example, these two campaigns at the very top are both for New Zealand, but this top campaign is a phase 1 campaign, meaning the main winning products. This bottom campaign is a phase 2 campaign, meaning the products which I had to exclude from campaign number 1. These are specific strategies I'm following. I'm not just randomly deciding phase 1, phase 2, etc. If you want to figure this out, just watch some of my other videos. But that's what I'm essentially doing with these smart shopping campaigns. I'm spreading out my net, so I'm not just relying on one or two smart shopping campaigns, because there's a very good chance on any given day one of them might not just perform. So on that day, you don't want to just risk going into a complete loss. So what this does is maybe on one day these 3 campaigns don't perform, but instead these 4 campaigns at the bottom end up performing, and they kind of make up for the loss these 3 did. So now I'm still in a break even, or I'm even in a profit. As you can see, it kind of makes up for each other, and it makes it easy for me to be very consistent and very profitable throughout these low months, which is essentially what your goal is as well. So again, you want to mix this strategy, which is again putting out a bigger net, with strategy number 1, which is having more reliance on Google smart bidding options. But you want to take advantage of the third strategy as well, which is have more campaign types in general. That means don't just rely on smart shopping campaigns, also have performance max, search campaigns, discovery campaigns, display campaigns, etc. You can also have YouTube campaigns. There are so many things you can try out with Google. The list is endless, and don't tell me that you reached all of your audience, because there's no way you can have reached all of your audience with all of these different campaign types. And during these low months, it's very beneficial for you to go out and just try out these different campaign types and these different strategies in general, because that is going to give you the leeway above your competitors. Because right now, a lot of your competitors, what they're doing is they're launching more standard shopping campaigns, more smart shopping campaigns. They're kind of in that general shopping campaign area, and they're just trying to bid more. They're trying to compete with each other and just drive up costs. What's going to happen is they're not going to be profitable during this time period, and they're going to continue making a loss. You want to stand out of the crowd because now you know how you're going to go out and you're going to launch multiple different smart shopping campaigns. You're going to launch multiple different campaign types with different strategies, and that's basically the best way to not bleed money in Q2 and continue making profits. Now, I get it. It might be a bit difficult for you to stop spending all this money, stop losing money during Q2 and Q3. But if you're looking to get some extra help, if you're already doing $30,000 or more in sales and you want to work with me directly, go to my website at yourmarketing.com and book a free call with me to see how I can help you stop bleeding money, stop losing money during this time period, and actually become profitable and get ready for Q4. Because the main reason why we're doing this is so that we have the best possible entrance into Q4, because you want to make up all the potential money you lost and 100,000 times more during Q4. So if you need some help with that, again, book a free call with me to see how that can happen. But if you found any type of value in this video, destroy the like button and destroy that subscribe button, and I will see you in my next video.